Hi, it's Dennis Daly. Back in 1997, I went to Chicago and interviewed the woman who was there on day one when the Butterball Turkey Hotline opened its doors. Or maybe I should say, opened its telephones. And back then, when I talked to her, she was still doing her job at Butterball. She says the word Butterball can conjure up some interesting images for people.
Yes, I think people equate the name to the name brings up a shape in people's minds and a perception of a delicious dinner, and I think we're real happy that it does.
How did the talk line get started? Whose brainchild was that?
Actually, I was on that first Butterball Turkey Talk Line in 1981, 16 seasons ago.
How many phone answerers did you have back then?
There were 6 of us.
And today?
And we were like the original 800 number. Today we have 48. But we were the original 800 number. No one had any conception of what a tiger we had by the tail. We had 6 desks. They set us down in the test kitchen in between the refrigerators and the ovens. So if we had a question we didn't know the answer to, we'd just lean back in our chair and ask one of the home economists who was cooking turkeys right beside us. It was marvelously homey, but I understand we nearly burned out the local phone system. They didn't have special lines. We just were on the company telephones. But it was the original use of an 800 number to give service to consumers, and obviously has spawned a great crop of other 800 numbers, and we're really kind of proud of that. I think we set a good standard of friendly helpfulness, and we're real glad. In fact, we're welcome other lines that are out there talking about other topics that are helpful.
So the response was overwhelming from the word go then.
Exactly. We took 10,000 calls that year. Now we take and hear from about 200,000 people. But 10,000 was all those poor phone lines could take just before they melted.
Well, and you really don't know how many people didn't get through.
No. We still don't really. But we hope we open November 1st every year. We have since 1981, and in the hope that people who are planners ahead will have planned ahead and will have called and kind of talked through the procedures of cooking a turkey in advance. But the closer we get to Thanksgiving, the more of the last-minute types we're getting, and we try to calm people down. Remember, it's a happy holiday, and try to relax and enjoy the family.
Are you seeing many different questions now than you did in the beginning? And if so, is it, I would guess, not to get ahead of things here, it's because you have more one-person families, more people alone trying to cook, more microwave ovens?
The difference is a diminution, if that's a word, of cooking expertise. People are now asking us, which they did not in 1981, how to turn on their stoves.
You're serious?
I'm serious. We have a dial here. It says bake and it says broil, but you just told me to roast a turkey. Now, do I set this on broil? They really don't know. And this leads to a lot of people having put their turkey in the oven on self-clean. It's understandable. It's because of the birth of microwave oven. I credit this, and the busyness of modern families. Many more women, I'm sure statistics show many more women are working now than were in 1981. Microwaves ovens came into popularity somewhat after 81, and there was maybe a 5-year bulge in there when a time when people were calling and saying, how can I cook my turkey on a microwave? In those days, microwave ovens were advertised showing a gorgeous picture-perfect turkey in there, practically with green parsley around it, And so they'd call and say, how can I get a turkey that looks like the one in this ad for the microwave oven? You can do a turkey in the microwave, but basically people have learned the microwave is better for doing the hot rolls and the green peas and the sweet potato casserole, and leave the turkey in the conventional oven. It's easier.
Is the perception, if you have both a microwave and a regular oven, that it's just going to be faster in the microwave? You sound as if the microwave is the oven of last resort for turkey.
Yeah, I would call it, that's a good description, because you have to turn it, the turkey's unevenly shaped. So you have to turn it end to end, upside down, right to left, and then you have to up and lower your power and down, and you have to keep taking the juices out, because waves are attracted to juice. You want them to go into the bird, not the juice, so then you take the juices off and you can't use them for gravy. It just doesn't reproduce, and it won't be brown unless you brush it with a browning sauce. So why do all that if you've got a regular oven? Put the turkey at 325, which is what we recommend. Rub some oil on it to make it shiny and pretty, and have an estimate of how long it's going to take. Use a meat thermometer to be sure it's done, and go on and prepare the other things in your microwave. The funny thing about microwave ovens is people learned so well how to use the microwave oven. Like, for instance, if you have one baked potato, back when microwaves were new, they had to learn that if you have 2 baked potatoes, you have to put them in for twice as long in a microwave. Now they think if they have 2 turkeys, they have to put them in a conventional oven, they have to cook it twice as long. They don't understand the difference in the type of heat.
There's something in your eyes that tells me you have heard some real horror stories.
Well, I've started this year trying to compile I haven't gotten very far because we're so busy taking so many calls, but we do talk to quite a few homes where I say to myself, I'm glad I'm not having dinner there. and there are a lot of them. But everybody does have a turkey, and the important part for us is that they enjoy it and have a good time.
Is there any other thing in our society, in our culture, that is as mandatory, I guess if you're in a Christian home, putting up a tree, but is as mandatory as having to fix a turkey? I mean, it's almost as if a person has guilt feelings if they don't fix turkey this time of year.
I think you're right. I wouldn't say yes, they should have guilt feelings. I mean, you're right. It is the one holiday, the one day, the one meal when everyone in America, literally, even if you've only been here 2 weeks, you're going to have a turkey dinner. Everybody in America, doesn't matter what religion, everybody doesn't have Christmas. And even if they do, they celebrate it differently. But 4th of July, who cares? Everybody throw burgers on or don't, or sit by the beach, whatever. But Thanksgiving, everybody's doing the same thing. They're having a turkey for dinner. And it doesn't matter what economic level you are or where you're living. And I have a very good story about that truly happened yesterday. We had a call from a woman who is going to visit her husband in prison on Thanksgiving, and she wants to take one of our Butterball smoked turkeys, which are already cooked, into prison to share with her husband for Thanksgiving. But she had to call and find out that it was packed airtight, had to be sealed in order to be allowed in the prison. So she called us yesterday to make sure that this would qualify so that she could take it to her husband. Now, if that doesn't exemplify that it does not matter where you are or who you are, you're going to do everything you can to enjoy a Thanksgiving dinner.
Gene, let me use myself as a test case here. My best friend at UPI Radio works till 9:30 Thanksgiving night. I go in at midnight that night. I can't find a restaurant serving turkey dinner that late. What do you do if you're either alone listening to this show or only cooking for 2? I mean, first of all, I have the world's worst gas oven. I hate gas ovens. It keeps shutting off. And the landlord keeps trying to fix it. I'm afraid the building's going to blow up someday. But address the question of cooking in small quantities. I mean, by its very nature, when I think of turkey, I think of a lot of food. What do you do if you're either alone or just cooking for 2?
And that is the situation for many people, particularly retirees and people whose children have spread across the country. Everybody has a different situation. A good answer for alone or the 2 of you is a turkey breast. You can even use turkey. You can use stuffing, which people love. You can, if you have a bone-in breast, you can put the stuffing right in the arch of the meat and roast it. It even looks kind of like a turkey because it essentially is a turkey with the drumsticks and all the extras removed. Another answer is we have a product called Little Butterballs, and they aren't much bigger than chickens. So, of course you want, even if you're going to eat by yourself, Dennis, you want some leftovers. I can tell by the look in your face.
Tell by the look of my waist. Well, Gene, you mentioned you have smoked turkey that's already cooked. Is there smoked turkey breast?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I can see you're planning your Thanksgiving menu even as we speak.
Let me address something that I remember in another interview with the Butterball Turkey Talk Line a couple of years ago. I was amazed to find out the number of people who leave that plastic container of stuff inside the turkey.
The giblets they're in Butterballs, they're in a little plastic bag in the neck cavity of the turkey. All turkeys have a little package of giblets in the neck. And people don't know they're there. And so on Thanksgiving Day, when we get a call from a very sheepish-sounding person who says, "You won't believe what I did,"
You say, yes, I do.
"Yes, we know what you did. You left the giblets in the turkey, right?" "Oh, how did you know?" "Well, because my last call was from someone who had done that, and she sounded just as distressed as you." That's not to be distressed about. The turkeys are safe. As long as you've cooked it properly, it's just fine. The giblets won't be usable for anything, but lots of us toss those out anyway.
Scrape the plastic away?
Yeah, it'll remove. It's food safe. It's fine. Just take it out of there. Just don't worry about it. But the worry is embarrassment. The family will never let that poor cook live it down. And whenever you ask people, well, your family must have a turkey story, they say, well, yes, and then they tell you about the year that poor Maudie left the giblets in the turkey. So that's the only lasting harm that'll come from having left the giblets there. But we do try to warn them. This is a good day to talk about that, Dennis.
Well, now, Jean, without ruining someone's meal if they're eating right now, what are the giblets?
Well, they're the neck. Let me see if I can say this now. The neck and the liver and the gizzard. The gizzard is a very tough muscle that turkeys use instead of teeth for grinding their grain. So these, and the liver, of course, is very tender. But most people who use them for anything simmer them and chop them up either in the stuffing or the gravy. And a lot of people really, really love those giblets, and others into the round file immediately.
Jean, what about this whole thing you got into at the beginning, the diminution, you use that word so well, the dying out of expertise? I understand that we've entered into a kind of sandwich generation. So few people cook. I can't remember the last time I actually sat down and cooked a meal. It probably last Thanksgiving. Do they teach what we used to call home ec anymore, or is that passé?
They do teach it, but the concentration on it isn't there. There are so many things that schools are required to teach that I understand the amount of time they can actually spend with students showing them the basics of cooking are minimal, and they're coming to class with no home training in terms of cooking. Yesterday I talked to a home ec teacher. Some of our home economists at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line are home ec teachers and come, because we're open long hours, come after school and tell us tales. And her first class, all they had made was a beverage which consisted of stirring juices together, because that was really all they were up to.
Oh.
So the teachers are left with starting at a very low level of expertise in order to bring them up.
You have a top 10 list here, much as David Letterman has. The most commonly asked question you get is, how do you thaw a turkey?
and this rather, doesn't take a lot of energy on your part. Sort of a boring question, isn't it, Dennis?
Well, I get the impression, though, that people forget that this solid mass of food can't be thawed out in 5 minutes before it goes in the oven.
Yes, they do. They forget all about that step in turkey preparation. If you have purchased a frozen turkey, you need to get it thawing, and you'll need to get it thawing soon at this point. It takes a number of days, minimally 3 or 4 days for a small turkey to thaw in the refrigerator. So if you're running short of time, a big turkey can take 7 days. And obviously there's not time for that at this point. So use a combination. I would say at this point use a combination. Thaw it in the refrigerator when you're not going to be home or when you're in bed at night. But when you're around the house, submerge the turkey in cold water. Float it in deep cold water with the breast down. Keep checking the water every 30 minutes. Make sure the water stays cold and hasn't run out of the sink, because you don't want to thaw the turkey at room temperature. Spoilage can occur on the surface and in the juices, and then that kind of spoilage could spoil your Thanksgiving.
Let's talk about food safety here for a minute. I don't want to alarm people, but we've seen outbreaks of different types of things. There was the hamburger one in Seattle. I won't mention the name of the restaurant chain. Basically, they were undercooking the hamburger. And I spent enough time at the agriculture department to know that the risks are out there in any kind of food. If you don't have a meat thermometer, can you test a turkey to know it's done? And is not a meat thermometer a good investment considering how cheap they are?
You said it, and I couldn't agree with you more. They're very cheap. It's not a thing you use once and throw out. You're going to have it the rest of the time you're cooking. Use it in all things. And as you said, more and more people are becoming aware that it's important to cook things hot enough. And how do you know it's hot enough without using a meat thermometer? Very difficult to do. There are visual ways of knowing a turkey is done. The juices should be running clear. And the meat will feel somewhat soft, but that's something. How do you compare if you've never cooked a turkey before? So it's the most reassurance we can give you for knowing the turkey is done would be the best way is to use a meat thermometer. And the end temperatures on a turkey are 180 in the thigh. Very important. That's where the inside muscle of the thigh next to the body, tip of the thermometer should not touch the bone. If you've ever cut into a turkey that wasn't done, you know the spot that has the hardest time getting enough heat to cook properly. So that's where the tip of the meat thermometer should be, and it should read 180. You also want to use either that meat thermometer or another one. Check the temperature of the stuffing. Very, very important if you stuff a turkey to be sure that that temperature gets up to at least 160 or between 160 and 165. There's no visual way that you can see in there, or that you could even tell if you pulled a spoonful out whether that's gotten hot enough. But it's not safe and it's not appetizing to serve lukewarm, undercooked stuffing, nor to serve undercooked turkey. The breast meat should be 170, but that will have happened by the time these 180 in the thigh and 160 in the stuffing have been met.
Does it make any difference whether a turkey has stuffing in it as to how juicy, tender it is, how it cooks? I mean, it would seem with things like stovetop stuffing that we have now that unless you're really determined to do that, it's just not necessary. Well, why take the risk?
Because it's a very happy tradition in most families, Dennis, and people do not. Thanksgiving, as you and I just discussed, it's the one time everybody does the same thing, and they not only do the same thing, but they do it year after year, and family tradition is most important. Certain areas of the country don't stuff a turkey, couldn't care less. Others, it is very important, and they prefer the flavor of the stuffing when it's been in the turkey. The turkey itself will not be different because it's been stuffed or not, but you will have to cook it longer, somewhere between a half an hour and an hour longer with stuffing in, because it's more of a solid piece and it takes time for the heat to get to the middle of the stuffing.
Is there a proper way to stuff a turkey? I mean, maybe that sounds naive to ask that.
Well, yes, there is, in a way, and that is there's a don't. And the don't is don't stuff it the night before. Don't even make your stuffing the night before. Prepare it just before you put it in the turkey. And I guess you don't want to pack it too tightly. Just put it in there loosely. And remember, as we discussed, there are two cavities in the turkey. There's the neck cavity and the body cavity. And if you're a stuffing-loving family, you're going to want to have as much stuffing as possible. So utilize both those spaces for your turkey stuffing.
We were talking about food safety and bringing things up to the proper temperature. After the meal is over, how quickly should those leftovers be refrigerated?
I love you for asking that, because it's a message we want to remind people about. Within 2 hours after dinner, be sure you have your turkey in the refrigerator chilling. Very bad family tradition is to leave it out for people to nibble from. Germs on the fingers. It's not the turkey. The turkey is sterile and marvelous when it comes out, having been cooked properly, but it is a neutral surface and it's a warm surface. And when you go back to take just one more nibble with your fingers and then, that was good, and you go back for another one, you're putting some germs on the turkey, and those germs are the ones that can grow and cause problems. If the turkey's cold, those germs can't grow. Germs can't grow in cold. So get the turkey back in the refrigerator within 2 hours. Best to separate the meat, cut it into pieces, take the stuffing out, basically for quicker chilling.
Does it make any difference in the perception of taste whether you buy a fresh or a frozen turkey?
Some people say yes, and some people say no. In the case of a butterball, our fresh butterballs have not had any added basting material added to the breast to enhance moistness. Some people like that fact. Many prefer the frozen, in which we have added less than 3% of a moistening. It's more or less a margarine-like material. It melts and goes down into your dripping, so it hardly affects at all your fat intake, which who's worrying about on Thanksgiving anyway, but that melts and goes away but leaves a moistness in the breast, and some people prefer that effect. But it's a matter of personal taste, personal choice, and those who like fresh really are strongly in favor, and whichever tastes wonderful to you.
Basting, then, is optional.
Basting is optional. In fact, basting is not necessary. It's not exactly a no-no because it doesn't cause any safety problems, but it doesn't make the turkey any juicier. You pour skin over the surface of a turkey and watch it run down into the dripping so fast. It does not soak through the skin. It does not enhance the juiciness of the meat. It might shine the skin, but we suggest rubbing the skin with some oil before you put it in the oven to get that nice picture-perfect shiny effect. So by opening the oven to baste, which is cooling off the oven, I say it enhances them, gives a marvelous aroma to your house. You know, that great turkey cooking smell will then waft out of the oven, makes your cheeks pink, but it slows down the cooking a little bit. But it doesn't really make much difference to the turkey, except for slowing down the cooking a bit.
Jean, one of the things I wanted to bring up, I understand by calling that 800 number, 323-4848, you get more than just answers, you get some food coupons.
Yes, in fact, and recipes. We're sending out a set of free recipe cards and $5 worth of coupons to everyone who gives us a call. And if our lines are busy when you call now, which they may well be, and you are fortunate enough to be going somewhere else for dinner, you won't need to call us right now, but do write our number down and call us after Thanksgiving. In either case, if you need some help cooking, call us now. If you'd like just the recipes, call us later when you have more time. Our phone number at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line is 1-800-323-4848.
I also noticed two things here, one of which is you operate through December 23rd, and you now are that wonderful, wonderful thing online.
We are online. Our address, our home site address is butterball.com, and there is everything you would ever want to know about a turkey, Dennis. Even, in fact, if you have the right equipment, you can hear a turkey gobble. That was not it either. That was Dennis laughing.
I can do.
That was me laughing.
Are you a competitor of Pillsbury?
No, I think not.
Because I can do the
Big Pillsbury.
Oh. Well, I do a turkey laugh very well, they tell me.
Can we hear that?
How's that?
That's great. Let's go through again the kinds of options that are available to the consumer. Fresh turkey, frozen. In the case of Butterball, you have what's called the little Butterball. How small are those? And we're talking about feeding how many people? And how quickly will they cook?
They're between 6 and 10 pounds. And we recommend, our rule of thumb for how many people can be, or, in other words, how much turkey should you buy if you're still at that point, we recommend 1.5 pounds per person. So you can kind of figure out, that will give you generous servings and some leftovers. And then you have, can you see my thumb, Dennis, here? I'm flexing it for you, because it has to be a flexible rule of thumb. If you've got teenagers and outdoorsmen and hunters and football players in your family, you better up that 1.5 pounds a little bit. If you've got older people or little kids who just like to nibble, then, reduce the size of the turkey. But and I always say there's no such thing as too big a turkey because the leftovers are so great. And so actually the favorite way people like to eat turkey sometimes seems to be leftovers. So don't worry about having too much, except do keep in mind the size of your oven and the size of whatever pan you might have. That can bring up some problems on Thanksgiving Day if it won't fit in the oven.
Why don't we go through an inventory here, particularly for those people who have never cooked a turkey before, and as you say, so many people live alone or by themselves. Tragically, there are cases of people who have the person in their family having died during the past year. Maybe grandma isn't around to do this anymore, and the onus is now on the next generation. What is the inventory list of the kinds of utensils and other food products you need to do this successfully?
That's why we recommend at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line the open pan method, because the special equipment you need is minimal. You need a pan. You need a turkey. Yeah, let's start with that. Shopping list. We need a turkey. But you'll need a pan. You need a little rack in the pan that will hold the turkey up from the bottom of the pan to let heat under it, and so it won't stick to the bottom of the pan.
If you don't have a pan with a pre-made rack, are there things you can do to make one?
Yes. Yes, you can use a long strip of aluminum foil and sort of roll it in your hands to make a long snake, and then make a spiral out of it and put that under your turkey, and that'll make a nice. That'll lift it up just enough to be up above the pan. So that's all you really need is the turkey, the pan, a little bit of oil on the surface of the turkey, some paper towel to blot out the extra juices in the turkey, and let's get a meat thermometer while we're out at the store and use a meat thermometer for determining doneness. That's really all you need. I should say a little bit of, leave some foil over from making your snake, because you'll need a piece about the size of a piece of typing paper to prop over the breast meat 2/3 of the way through the cooking. We don't suggest putting that on at the beginning because the foil is a shield. So that would be counterproductive to turn on your oven and then put foil there to keep the heat away. But when the breast gets done soonest, and it's beautiful golden brown, and you want to protect that nice delicate white meat. So protect the breast, but let heat keep getting at the stuffing and the drumsticks. So that's really all you need: an oven, a turkey, a pan, a little bit of oil, and a meat thermometer. You're ready to go.
Now, I notice in the information here it suggests you get a turkey lifter, some device for getting it out of the pan. If you don't have that, I have seen disasters where the turkey is so nicely cooked that it almost falls apart.
And some families like that. Actually, Butterballs come with that string lifter. That's in a little cellophane packet on the back, and it's just some string and some little plastic buttons, and you place it under the turkey, and it becomes handles for lifting the turkey out of the pan. That's very helpful. Yes, some families have turkey that's falling apart, and then string lifter won't help real much with those, and they love them. They say, oh, it was a wonderful turkey that was just falling off the bone, and hey, if that's the way you like your turkey, that's fine.
Someone called in one time and said they wanted to baste a turkey in oil, but all they had was suntan oil.
Yes, I think that man was he from Florida?
Should have been, yes.
Well, actually, I think he should have maybe been from California. But men are very creative and very inventive, and I think he was, wherever he was in a warm climate, and he was having a good time in the warm climate, and he really kind of didn't want to bother to go out to the store and get regular oil. So, hey, he thought of something, but we really tried to discourage him from that.
Gene, in the few minutes remaining, let me go back to basics for people who are just joining us now. Is it not safe to say, from your experience and in talking to people, that you shouldn't be afraid of this whole turkey fixing process?
If there's one message I could convey to your listeners, Dennis, it would be to relax and enjoy and have a good time this Thanksgiving. Don't be nervous about cooking the turkey. It's the easiest part of the whole meal, and you just need to have an attitude of self-confidence. If you need a little extra self-confidence, give us a call at the Butterball Turkey Talk Line. We'll be glad to help you. But it's easy, and just keep that in mind and enter into the task with that frame of mind, and you'll have a happier holiday.
What is your background? How did you get involved in all of this?
I think I was born to be a turkey lady. I'm a home economist. I've been a newspaper food editor and a extension home economics agent and a nutrition instructor in a college. So I have a broad base of experience, but I have personal experience with turkeys as well. I think this has stood me in good stead. When I was about 3 years old, I couldn't pronounce turkey. And it couldn't say the R. And we visited a turkey farm near my grandmother's, and I was saying, turkey, look at the cute turkey. And that woman, until her dying day, when she met me, would say, can you say turkey yet? And so I practiced that a lot, and it's been very helpful in this job, Dennis.
Jean, what does it feel like to be associated with something that is this well known? You were talking earlier how you got in on the ground floor, and it was really one of the first 800 numbers for people to call in and get information. To look back on the years that all of this has developed, how do you feel about that?
I think it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really, really proud. And I work with wonderful women who answer the phones, and we feel we're very good friends to each other, and we're very good friends to the people who call. And it's just altogether a very pleasant and positive experience.
Thanks for inviting us out here to the Chicago area, and I can't wait to get back to my oven if it'll stay lit.
Hopefully practice turning it on.
Thanks, Jean.
Thank you. You have what did we decide you're going to have? A turkey breast. You have a good turkey breast and stuffing, Dennis.
The lady who started answering the phones back in 1981 at the Butterball Turkey Hotline. I'm Dennis Daly.